Namaste. Today we are starting our first discussion on holistic development as a practice. And you've seen several posters throughout the week because first I was thinking we'll start with an introduction to different holistic development outcomes. But then yesterday I found something really interesting on emotional regulation. And that's actually been our focus with RAISE. I know that Jayashree had mentioned that last time as one of the something that we can achieve through theater arts. And so I think instead of introducing all the holistic development outcomes, we'll start with emotional development. And I think Gitanjali, you have seen that too with Mihir. He's so much more focused, and I'm just very happy to see him engaged throughout the class now. And that's a lot of progress on that front. So I'm going to start the session with a little sharing from Anant, and we'll refer back to that a few times during the session. Okay.
Namaste. Today I'm going to tell you a story about Jackie the dog who loved Ramana Tata. Once upon a time in Sri Ramanashramam, there were many animals. There were peacocks, there were monkeys, there were cows, there were squirrels, and there were dogs. Once there was a dog by name Jackie who loved Ramana Tata. He would sit on an orange cloth and look at him with love. When prasadam was distributed, Jackie was also given a share. Jackie would not start eating until Ramana Tata started eating. One day there was a stray dog that came barking very loudly. So Jackie got scared and started barking back at the stray dog. Ramana Tata said, "You must turn within and not look outside. If you turn within, no external sound will bother you." So Jackie turned within. I think we should all turn within. So external sounds don't bother us. What?
Out of all creatures.
Out of all creatures in the world, what did you gain by choosing me? Oh, Varuna Hill, oh, Varuna Hill. Out of all creatures in the world, what did you gain by choosing me? Oh, Varuna Hill, oh, Varuna Hill, to save me from falling into the void, and you have held me firm, fixed at your feet. You saved me from falling into the void, and you have held me firm, fixed at your feet. Out of all creatures in the world, what did you gain by choosing me? Over Varna Hill, over Varna Hill, Lord of ocean of grace. My heart shrinks and shakes even to think of you. Long may you live, O Arunachala, and let me bend down my head in praise and worship of you. Out of all creatures in the world, what did you gain by choosing me? O Varna Hill, O Varna Hill. Out of all creatures in the world, what did you gain by choosing me? O Varuna Hill, O Varuna Hill, O Varuna Hill. Thank you.
There are a few different reasons I asked him to present. That is the one he actually presented for the Ramanotsavam, for the competition. And actually, one of the interesting things there is Ujjwal chose something that was right for him. He's new to singing. He doesn't really sing. He plays the piano. So, Ujjwal chose something that would be right for him. And he actually did it with the piano also. He played the piano and sang it as well. And he made it through the first round, and which was a good experience because he actually presented it live. there are a few points I wanted to mention with this. What I've experienced with Raise, and Gitanjali, you've been there for a long time too, and Bharti, you've seen too. I think a lot of their songs and movement activities are actually very calming, and that's why I had him present. They're not, when you have theater activities, it can be very high energy, and you can have all kinds. And the Raise, I think, tends to be on the more calming side. That's what we have experienced. And the movements are also kind of softer and gentler. So I feel that's why I feel like it really works well for emotional regulation. And so that was sort of an accidental discovery, because when we came to Ujjwal, it was basically we were looking for a Bharatanatyam teacher in Bangalore for Anand. That's how we started. And it turns out that he's become more of an emotional regulation coach than a Bharatanatyam teacher. That's really the way it's turned out. So what I wanted to mention is that there is a lot more to Raise than just a few theater activities. It might look, especially because it had the history of starting from Ramana Balakendra, where you kind of think it's one of those extracurricular activities, but it's not. There is a whole lot to it. And today we are just going to look at emotional regulation. Now, emotional regulation is something we know we need, but I think it's not I don't think it's defined very well. If you ask somebody, how do you practice emotional regulation? I'm not sure anybody can give you the answer to that. We just kind of think, okay, we do emotional regulation somehow. And it's very tough. And I think our children need more practice, because they often have a more sensitive system. So I'll take the example of the annual day that Anant participated in, recently. So when you take the annual day, he was in, like he was in one 10-minute piece, another 6-minute piece, and another two short things. He was there on stage for more than 20 minutes, and 20 minutes of group performance, spread out throughout the session. It's not just learning the dance, it is handling the sounds, the social demands, all of these different things when you're on stage. So for him, it's not just learning the skills, it's about the regulation challenge. So I'd requested Ujjwal before itself, can Anant please come out after his 10-minute song, take a little break. It'll be very difficult for him if he's backstage for like 2 hours, there'll be too much stimulation. So the reason I'm giving this example is, if you saw the graphic from today morning, there were a couple of them, the first one and then the revised one. That's what I'm going to use throughout the 100-day project and beyond, because I think that is our roadmap for life. So every skill, every concept you learn, it's actually anchored in that emotional regulation map. And why does that make sense? Because if you're not regulated, you're not available for learning. You're all over the place, right? So to me, it's very basic. You need that regulation to be in the game. So if you have that graphic in front of you, there was one word there, mobilization, and that mobilize usually refers to a more stressed state. So if you take the annual day, there is a higher level of stress. Ujjwal's class, there is a very low level of stress because he has a very Lilo style. Not all classes are Lilo, because often classes are, you put a lot of demands on the learner. So there is a lot of variation in the environment and variation in the experiences. And we have to keep in mind that our children might face, they might perceive more stress or experience more stress in situations that may not be stressful for the entities. So when, if most of the other students who were in the annual day were probably quite happy being backstage 2 hours, hanging out, chatting, all of that. But for Anant, it was a lot of sensory demand, a lot of social demand, and it's too much for him. So we have to recognize that our children, even when you work on a lot of things, the neurology doesn't change, right? I mean, they still have that difference. They still need that. So that's where we have to be careful and say, okay, this is a lot for him. So we requested that Anant be allowed to come off stage, off backstage for a while. So that is something to keep in mind. So that mobilized state is something we face in real life. We can't do anything if we don't want any stress. It's very hard to do anything. Even the smallest performance, there'll be some demand. So that's the mobilize. I love the way this was a graphic I actually adapted based on something I saw on Primal Trust yesterday. And I looked at it and I said, this really describes what we do. So I said, this is a great design tool. So what we want is that mobilization thing. That is, it's a huge thing that Anand could go for that annual day. And I was, in fact, a little bit concerned when Ujjwal had him on so many things on the annual day. I was like, okay, is this something that's too much for Anand? But, we managed well. But part of that is what comes before and after the mobilize. So if you see that circle, there is calm before that and rest after that. So we have become much more proactive about that. I know that the annual day was a lot of demands, sensory demand, performance demand, social demands, all kinds of demands, right? So after that 2 days, he just went and crashed in his RMCL room. So there also he has a nice, setup in Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, and we're very grateful to Dr. Sharda for providing him that office, and also has a little bed there. So that is his place for rest. So after the annual day, he crashed and he spent a lot of time in RMCL after that. So now we're very proactive about it. We know that when there are high demand situations, we need to plan for that rest. And we also do the calm before that. So tomorrow we are traveling. So I've already told him today is silent day. We are not going to talk too much because we know that, you have to go to the airport, all these things will happen. So, we've now got into a rhythm. Even if there's a celebration in the shrine or we're traveling, we'll really explicitly work on calm before and rest after. So you find ways, so even though that's a very simple graphic, I just found it very, very useful. Then if you go to go back further to the left on that graphic, you see play. So I thought that's wonderful because it had play and calm next to each other. And I feel that's the energy of the Raise class, the Raise family immersion. You have the playfulness, but you also have the calming. And that calming comes from multiple places. So I don't know if Ujjwal can speak anytime in the middle, and if he can, because they're having the Ramanotsavam contest going on. But if at any time he can speak, he can share a few ideas on that. There are two things here. One is the experience itself. And that's why I had Anand share the Jackie the dog story and the song, because you can see that they're very kind of, soft music, gentle movements. So that's the energy of the dance class also for the most part. So the thing is, we say movement is important, but what kind of movement? What kind of music? How do we speak? And Ujjwal, has a very soft style of communication. So all of these factors create a certain kind of experience. And then you also have the Lilo guiding. So so Bharti, I know, was talking about this, that and I think others have said the same thing, that what many people are practicing more in the beginning is Lilo, because you can't help another person regulate if you are not regulated. So that is a key point from today. When we see this graphic going from, play, calm, mobilize, rest, and shut down, I think that circle applies equally to parents. So that is something I wanted to keep in mind. Now, where might parents live? See, with children, they tend to shut down often. So Anant is overwhelmed. He will go into shutdown and refuse to engage. Now, we don't have the luxury of doing that. We are forced to be. Yeah. So we are forced to be more in the game, regardless of whether we are stressed or not. So I think we may end up being in that mobilized state quite a bit. And our children are probably going between mobilized and mobilized and the shutdown, right? So think about the dynamics. The parent continuously immobilized, right? And child going between mobilized and shutdown, what kind of learning is going to happen, right? So that's why I feel family immersion is very important. And that's why I've been, you know, nudging Ujjwal to do right from the beginning to do a family immersion class, because then that supports both the parent and the child. And it's really interesting. One of the outcomes of that is when parents see that Lilo style of guiding, and you see that same Lilo style of guiding. Bharti, you had mentioned that you like the videos of Anant and Ujjwal for this reason, because when Ujjwal alone presents, he's just presenting the activity. But when Anant is on the screen with him, then you're seeing that Lilo guiding, right? And not everybody
Yes.
can come for the race class. So what
Yes.
happens is when they're together on in the video, you see that Lilo style, and
Yes.
somewhere it registers. It people start feeling that. And we've seen this right from the beginning when we first shared the animal song and uh, body part song. This was way back in 2022. I think people already felt that in the videos where Ujjwal and Anant were doing it together. So you may not have words for it. We came up with Lilo much later, but even just by seeing the video, people are sensing something. But now that we have a word, it does help, because people say, oh, I'm going to work on Lilo, I'm going to work on silence. So that is sort of coming. So I think this is sort of a thing I was juggling for a bit. Should we start on the silence side or the theater activities side? But I think the way the infographic is now turned out is just that map, which I think is very nice, which goes from shutdown to play to um, calm to mobilize to rest back to shutdown. So I think that's a nice flow, because if you think about somebody in shutdown, and our children can get there, they're facing a lot of pressure in school, a lot of pressure at home, whatever it is, shutdown can happen, right? So how do you really get out of shutdown? Just 1 minute. I don't know what's happening today with the voltage. Again, going really low. Okay. So anyway, if you can just look at that graphic, and we can continue the conversation in future meetings, because I think this is a graphic I'm going to use going forward. The key point I was saying is also about shutdown, and this is an important point. If the child isn't shut down, I don't think you can directly work on calming activities. So that is what our experience was, because Anand started with Ujjwal in a very stressed state. So more on the shutdown state. So really some gentle theater activities, gentle movement, that's what gets you out. So I think that flow is very meaningful to me, because I think you can't start from shutdown and say you're straight away going to practice calming activities. And so from there you go to some gentle activities, and then later on you're more ready for actually practicing calming activities. And once you practice the calming activities, you have more of a capacity to deal with mobilization, right? Because now Anant has tools. So that is the key point, because he listens to chants, he does mandala, he has a whole bank of things that he can do for calming his system. And he knows that he can use these things for calming his system. And then on the other side, he also now knows that he can rest when he's gone through one intense experience. So this is a learning curve, not just for the parent, but eventually as our children grow, I think it's empowering for them to know, oh, this was a lot of challenge, and now I need to, you know, um, go for rest, or now I need to go more for calming. So that's really mainly what I wanted to speak. So I don't know if Ujjwal is able to speak for a few minutes. Otherwise, we'll probably have to close now, because we're having some real problems with the voltage. Namo Ramana. Go ahead.
Yes, Ramaji, Namo Ramana, everyone. Uh, Actually, I was sharing with Ramaji, say, regarding the activities that we have in the race. It is are the you can take any song or you can take any dance movement. But what is special about the race activity bank, which is so structured, is because it's more like yoga. And if you take another activity like Zumba or aerobics, where in both you have movements. But here in yoga, you're not only paying attention to the physical well-being, but you're also working on your prana, you're working on your mind being calm, and there is overall development. So that's what we call it as the holistic development. So in the race activity, it's not just a movement activity, but all these various other aspects are also taken care unknowingly. It's joyously, they just learn and they grow. And I feel that these race activities are like tables. Okay, we just learn the tables in school, okay, and by rote method. But at the time when it's required, like you have to buy 5 bananas and each banana costs you 2 rupees. So the table will automatically, you will get the table 2 into 5 is equal to 10. So that is that's how these activities work. Okay, we have learned. I mean, I have shared so many stories with Anand, and they're all like the tables that he has learned. And at the right point of time, at the point of the crisis or conflict, so we can get back to those tables and we can find a solution to the problem at that moment. And we see that it has helped. Okay, so many times like he is able to find solutions for himself by remembering these stories and the inputs that he has got. And we also understand that these activities has the power to co-regulate, and which Ramaji is talking about the emotional regulation. So these activities, I mean, like in the race program, whichever activities which makes the child concentrate, which make them regulate, can be used as, like, for example, the chanting used to regulate Anand, so that we can hold on to that, and whenever at the time of disturbance, we can use those activities to calm. So those are the way that we can use these activities playfully and for the calm. And of course, the training, the performance training, always it gives them a goal, a purpose to work towards. And the performance may not be the end goal. That's only a part and byproduct in the process. So I think the performances actually Ramaji was telling. I don't know whether Anand can he was included in many dances and various positions. That too, my team is they are spread out all over the place, so they don't come together. So we didn't even have a final rehearsal where all the participants are there. But Anand could manage it because already knew that these people are going to stand here and he's to go be the center. So all these information was given. So he was able to handle it well. And of course, Ramaji had understood that, okay, he needs a rest time. So after the first dance, Ramaji took him outside, and he usually likes walking, which makes him calm. So that was used to calm him down. And then when his next part came, he was ready to be a part of the dance. So we can, I think this imagery that Ramaji has come up is very beautiful. I think we can work on this and keep this in mind in our activities.
Thank you, Ujjwal. I actually wanted to pick up on one point that you were mentioning, like, like the tables. So I think this plays out in a number of different ways. So today, it was good that Anant had done that Jackie and the song. He had done it first for the first submission, then again he presented it live before the audience. So I said, Anant, today's theme, we do want to talk about emotional regulation, calm, silence. So why don't you just present that? And so it is in his bank, so we just practiced it once and then he was ready to go. And that is the thing that happens. White Peacock is another one. He's anytime ready to. It also helps me. I've done a lot of things with Ishan and Sanjay because I have a big bank now, because I have a lot of things that we keep trying with Anand. And so Ishan's going to come soon and we are armed with a whole bunch of activities for him. And I think this is where the activity bank becomes very important, because that's why I keep going back to Raise. You can do your own activities if you want, but I'm not so creative. And second, I think Raise has been in schools for 10 years and before in another format, whatever, but it's been there for decades, right? So it's been tried and tested. It includes concepts that children have to learn. So many things are there. So I'd rather go with a tested activity bank than try to create my own, activities. And then I can actually focus on execution. So if the activity is designed, so there is the activity bank, and that's why I call the sort of the ABCs, because you have the activity bank, and now we are building a little, repository for parents. The whole activity bank is large. Ramananjali has like 2,000 songs, Ujjwal. I think you mentioned something like 2,000. So there's so many songs, so many activities. So we can't really deal with all of that. So what happens is Ujjwal actually brings us, a smaller set that we can explore. And that also we can go with different ages. So Lavanya, for example, now wants to try the circulatory system song. And as we have a little older, we started first as a Balakendra model, but we have a lot of older students. So they may find other things more appealing. And that's why I've collected everything and I've started putting them in the playlist. So if you watch and something appeals to you, let us know. And then maybe we can bring them into the race class or practice session. But I think it can work both ways. It can go from the race class to the online resources, but also from online resources to say, hey, we really like that, can you do it in class? We can do that also. So that's another point. But to me, the activity bank is a huge factor, because otherwise it's difficult to implement it cleanly. So that is the thing, and that's why it's helped us. So going forward, this is where we are going. I think the infographic I shared today is going to be a main infographic. You also see two other important variables there: daily rhythms, where I put the play and the calm. So the interplay of calming and playful activities, that sort of is the core of our daily rhythm, and that prepares us for managing moments. Managing moments is dealing with whatever life hands us at any given moment, right? So you can't really control that. You don't know what's going to come up. You don't know what's going to happen when you travel or any other scenario. So what we can really work on is through a combination of playful and calming activities. You build the capacity, and then you can, that capacity then helps you manage moments, and you also learn to work between managing moments, between the mobilized or a stressful state to rest. And this is something we somehow automatically do, but for our children, I think we have to work on it much more explicitly, because I think they get, because of their neurological differences, I think they have more difficulty, going to that. And in fact, there's something called the tired but wired pattern. And this was something that used to really trouble Anand until he found the chants. And that was the first time he could actually get himself out of that tired but wired pattern. I'm very tired, but I can't go to sleep. So I'm keeping on having more thoughts. So I'm really in that loop that, I'm not able to get myself out. So I think definitely for him, that loop of 5 is what we've been working on. We didn't know coming in, we didn't know that's what Ujjwal was going to work with us on, but it's ended up that that's really where this whole thing has evolved. So we'll keep that as our base, and everything else, all the movement and other capacities can be tied into that framework, I think. So I think we can take a few questions, and then that's it for today.
Ma'am, you said na that after that big 20 minutes thing, Anant will be overstimulated and he needs a break. You took him to the walk. That means you were the manager there. How come our children become their own managers?
No,
How long
actually, he advocates for himself too now, because he told Ujjwal after that. Ujjwal was trying to get him to do a dance for the Ramanotsavam, and he told him, "No, I'm done with dance for now. I'm not going to do any dance." So he finally sang for Ramanotsavam, but he refused to do the dance because he said he had had enough. So he's doing a lot of self advocacy now. And then he told Ujjwal, I'm not going to participate in Shivaratri. And then he came back to him and said, okay, I won't wear the costume, but if you let me wear a dhoti and shirt, I'll come and do it. So he's beginning to do that.
Why I'm asking this is Mihir calms down a lot when he does scribbling or pencil shading like that.
Yeah.
He does that. Every time I have to give that pencil and pad and the book. Why, how he can take it and he can calm down by himself. No, how long I have to manage. That's why I'm asking how to bring that connect.
I think, I framed it in for him too. I would tell Anant, we are traveling. I think we should listen to some chants more today. So I do more of that framing, so he kind of starts making that connection. And the rhythms really help, because if he when we first came back from Tirunelveli, he was listening to chants like 4 times a day, and then he made the connection himself, and so he would go to this really stimulating show with Anish and Sherry in London, and he'll come back and run back to the back room and hide out with his little system and listen to the music. So I think we have to help them make connection, but I think the rhythms matter. I mean, if you listen to the chant again and again and daily, then he gets it, that this really helps him. And then
Here rhythm means pattern. Like that, how
Daily
you have
rhythm means
framed or the chants.
a daily rhythm means it's part of your daily, like we used to listen to chants like 4 times a day, every day. So that is why the
Correct.
daily rhythms is very important. That's what builds your base. Then you can use it while managing moments. So, saying, oh, I had this stimulating theater show that I just watched. I need to listen to a calming chant. That won't happen unless it's in his bank already. So now he keeps listening. He slowly expanded from chants to a lot of Carnatic music. But that listening is now a habit. And he still does it as a part of the routine. So I think I'll have to quit now. The voltage is becoming really bad. But thanks for the questions, Gitanjali. I think we should continue this conversation online. Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you.
Correct.
Thanks,
Thank
Ujjwal,
you.
for sharing too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.